Hello, hello, hello. And I am so delighted, excited, ecstatic to be here today for another Rent to Rent Rockstars interview. And we have the amazing, the delightful, the amazing on live video, Loise Wilson from My Cozy Homes. Now, Loise has been a total inspiration to me since she joined us in the Rent to Rent Kickstarter, because Loise is she's amazing company. She's so funny. Her branding is on point. And it did take Loise quite a long while to get started up. But now that she's started, she's on fire. And I know that you are going to love her story. So welcome to Rent Rockstars, Loise.
Hi, Stephanie. Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure, Loise. So let's start at the beginning. Tell us what your situation was before you started up with the Kickstarter.
Right, my situation was that initially my background is that I'm an accountant, and I'd done that for many years until I just felt like, let's move on to something else. There's got to be more than this in terms of passion, career, and I've always wanted to run my own business. So at that point, I was then headhunted to run a local charity, which initially it was for 6 months to do a small project of running a food bank in my borough. So I was headhunted for that, and sort of like 5 years down the line, it grew into a really big food bank, one of the biggest in the borough. That I still manage today. But alongside that, I thought, why not start the company that I've always wanted to start? I've had the passion for 20 years to have my own business in property. And I just thought, why not make a start? Why not try to build a company? So I researched all the strategies, looked at what would suit, me and my family, because I wanted to have a family business. And, working with HMO seemed the perfect way to go. So I started my company, property management company, of My Cozy Homes.
And how I first remember you, Loise, is I saw My Cozy Homes popping up on things, and I just loved your branding, fell in love with you online. You just got that little X factor with the branding. And can I ask you, Loise, what attracted you to make you think, okay, I'm going to, because obviously you've been in business for a while, and can I ask you what attracted you to think, okay, I'm going to try out the Rent to Rent Kickstarter?
Well, I've been following your online groups for the longest time. I mean, I've seen you for a few years around, before we met properly, and I saw that you had HMO Heroes, HMO Heaven. I just like the style, the brand. I like the fact that I could relate to both you and Nicky. And I just felt like this would be the right step for me to take, because it was hands-on, holding your hand to get your deal. And especially where I live in London, it was almost deemed impossible to really get deals in London. So I just felt like this would be the perfect thing for me to do and try. And why not join your online group?
Okay, brilliant. Can you tell me what you were worried about before you started the course? Because sometimes when you're going to put in some investment and you're just not sure if it's going to work out, were you worried about anything before you joined?
I was worried about everything. I was worried about everything. It's easy to say what I wasn't worried about. To be honest with you, I was just concerned that, I was legal and compliant in every way. I was concerned that, people might not take me seriously as a young company. I was concerned about referencing. I was concerned, would I let my landlords down? Would I let myself down, my family down? There were just so many concerns. And that's why when you find somebody that will hold your hand through every stage, that takes away all the fears and the concerns.
Wow, that's a great question. Sorry, great answer. Great question. Great answer. And as you were saying it, I totally related back to, when we first started. I was just sort of like a deer in the headlights and just launching onto it and working everything out. And so the next question I want to ask is, because it's an online coaching course, and some people have never been on an online course. And I don't know if had you been on an online course before?
Never.
And did you know what to expect, and was it what you expected?
I had no idea what to expect, but I think because I trusted you and Nicky, then I couldn't be far wrong. Do you know what I mean? I think you've got to trust your coaches. If you don't trust your coach, then you're not going to be sure if you're really doing the right thing. And I felt I was in the right hands. So the process.
That's so lovely. And let me just share something quickly, that you came on the first course that we ran, and we started it up at let's call it the beginning of February. It was the last day of January. It was let's call it the beginning of February, the first day of February 2019. And I absolutely love your group, because all of those first people who dived into that course were just like you, Lois, who kind of knew us already and trusted us and dived in with us. And we had a very small group, but I've just loved working with you, because you've all got that same get up and go, let's try this and dive in, with both feet. So it's been such a pleasure from our side, as well. And so let's go on to the next bit, which is, I was going to say, what was it like setting up your business? But that side of it for you had already done.
Yeah, I mean, I set up my business quite early in 2017. I was chugging along doing, setting it all up. And I think when you're not quite sure which process should follow which process, you kind of do a scattergun approach. So you set up your company. Should I set up a sole trader? Should I set up a limited company? So all these little stages you go through, not sure what to do. You're absorbing so much information from the internet and wherever you can. So it's about making the right decision. So we set up a little while ago, but then I got stuck. I kind of got stuck, because I think when you've got too much information, you don't know what's the right information, you get stuck. I got stuck on pictures, I got stuck on branding, I got stuck on, if I could just do the right thing, then the deals would just fall in my lap. And actually it doesn't work like that. You've got to do the whole shebang. You've got to do stage by stage by stage and drive it. And I think I'd lost my drive halfway through.
Well, I think it's so easy to lose your drive when you haven't got people around you who are already doing it, or who are already doing it but also are showing you what they're doing. So it's, you can be in a group with other people who are doing it, but if they're keeping everything to themselves, then you don't know if what you're doing is the right thing. So it's a good thing that you mentioned that. So next thing that I know that a lot of people get nervous about is the landlord's part of it. So let's start off with the landlord letters. Now you took this next level, Lois, didn't you? Because we've got some letter templates that if you're watching this, you can actually get those letters, some of the letter templates for free, and there'll be a link underneath. But you took those letter templates, Lois, and next leveled it off the charts. So tell us about that.
Do you know what? I've just got this thing about gold. I love gold, the colour gold. So I just thought, I'm going to put some gold in my letters and sort of gold edging. And that's what I did. I kind of put a gold fancy edging all around the letters, and some of my writing was gold in the middle of it. And I thought, well, you know what? Let's do this thing golden. Let's be golden. Yeah. And that's what I did. And it was an attraction, really. So it worked. Yeah.
They looked amazing, because sometimes gold can be OTT, but yours just looked, they were just on point. But having said all that, the response was less than we thought originally, wasn't it? So tell us what happened.
Originally, when I sent out my first batch of letters, it's also about the style in which the letters were written and the right wording to sort of attract. So when I sent out the first batch of letters, nothing. I thought, oh, what's going on here then? I thought, okay, let's go again. Sent out another batch of letters, and I think I got 4 or 5 calls within the first few days of that letter going out, because I also posted one to myself just to be sure these letters were going out, and it did come to me. So I knew they were going out. I knew they were hitting doormats. But, you know, on the second round, I persevered and I got calls. Calls were just coming through the door, sort of through the phone, yeah.
Through the phone, yeah, I love it. So what was the difference, Lois? Or tell us about the difference between the first batch and the second batch. Was it the same letter, I think, or was it a different letter?
Same letter, but my audience was larger. I targeted a larger amount of landlords.
So how many did you send the first time?
The first time I think I sent around 200.
Yeah. And the second time?
About just under 500.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because, well, as you know, we suggest between 300 and 500 each time, depending. But yeah, so you sent the second batch and the phone started ringing. Now, this is another place that I know people get worried. We've got a checklist of questions to say to the landlords to help you with that conversation. But how did you feel when your phone started ringing?
I just looked at it. I thought, the phone's ringing. I don't recognise the number because I've got a different phone for my business. So I'm used to my mobile ringing and I recognise my numbers. But when the business phone started ringing, I just looked at it and I thought, well, Lois, answer the phone. But I answered it and I thought, I wanted to sound like a professional, My Cozy Homes. And I bumbled it. I don't know what I said, but I got through it. But it is nerve-wracking. But what you've got to remember is that there's something that the landlord wants from you. There's something that you've said in your letter that's attracted that landlord. So there's no need to be nervous. He would just like to find out who you are. So it's just a conversation. Just think of them as human beings, and it's just a conversation.
What, human beings? Lois, family, we forget that, don't we? It's just another person on the phone. Yeah, so one thing that I wanted to get off is some people are lucky, and the first person, it's a deal, and other people have to go on a bit longer. And for you, it was a little bit longer. So since we were together, it was, well, we just worked out today, it was 4 months.
Yeah.
Which is actually not a huge amount of time, but it feels like a long time when you're sending out the letter, making the calls, having all those offers. But tell us a bit about what happened with some of those landlords previously where it didn't work out.
Well, the thing is, it wasn't as if I wasn't getting the attraction. The attraction was there. The landlords would speak to me on Facebook or different social media platforms through letters, but it just wasn't sticking. There was just something that wasn't sticking. And then you'd put all your effort into this deal. You'd analyze it. You'd, view the property, have numerous conversations with the landlord. And then sometimes it just would fall flat at the end for no particular reason, nothing that I've done wrong. No. It's just sometimes a deal just does not work.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Just doesn't work. Sometimes it can happen, and that's anything in life. It can happen that way.
And sometimes, or often, we find it can be just that the amount that the landlord wants is just not possible to be profitable and run the company and do what you need to do and pay that amount. It's just not possible.
Yeah.
But I just wanted for people to know that it's not always the first, second, or even third one. And we had some calls, and we were so willing it because we knew that you were doing all the things. You were sending out the letters. You even made yourself call agents. And so tell us what happened with the landlord that you're now working with. How did it all go? Where did you meet this person, etc.?
Well, this particular landlord, again, it's solely through my letters. They rang me and we had a bit of a chat. And it felt like I was talking to a friend within 10 minutes. And before I knew it, we were on the phone for nearly an hour and a half. And I'm thinking, I've got to be comfortable with this person. But I think when your conversation flows, there's a natural rapport with you and the landlord. They ask all about us. They ask about our family. And because we're a family-run business, I think that really appealed to them. Yeah. And whatever it is that attracts that landlord to you, that's what, is going to build the relationship on. So we talked for ages. We talked about anything and everything until I actually forgot I was talking to a prospective landlord. That's how comfortable the relationship was in that short space of time. So, every potential landlord, speak to them on a professional level, but also be relaxed with them and be true to who you are and what your company represents. And then that landlord will decide probably by that conversation if they want to work with you or not.
Yeah, and the thing I love about it is because you got so relaxed you forgot you were speaking to a landlord. Whereas when you started speaking to the landlords at first, which was only like a couple months earlier, you didn't feel so relaxed at all. So sometimes those landlords that didn't work out for whatever reason are a practice run, you know, for the ones that do, because I remember one of the things that you said was that you really started to believe in yourself more as you were going through the process and beginning to talk more to family and friends about what you were doing, and I think all of that really helps in those conversations and like feeling feeling relaxed. So tell us about the 2 properties, because it's two deals. So it's 4 months and 2 deals. So tell us about your properties.
Well, the thing is, I mean, it's always been pretty close to the deal, but to hit 2 in one hit, it's like double for your trouble, really.
Yeah.
But these 2, they're in London, which is amazing because there's such a thing. There's a bit of a flavour going around that London is very difficult to get HMOs, licensed HMOs, and it can be difficult, but they are there. But you've just got to keep at it. You can't give up, and you know they are there. So when I came across these 2, viewed them both, and they're both 5-bedroom HMOs, licensed HMOs in South East London, and already practically tenanted. So it was up and running already.
I really like this because you hadn't got to do a big refurb, you hadn't got to find all the tenants, so you've only had to find 2 tenants. Was it 1 for each property, I think?
Yep, just 1 room was empty for each, and they literally given notice that particular week, so it was just a case of working with each room in each property.
Yeah, so you had 2 rooms, and you did a beautiful job because you put pictures up. Did you put it in Rent to Rent Success Secrets as well?
You know, I posted it everywhere, so
great. So if you're watching and you want to see the rooms that Loise has dressed in her new HMOs, you can see them in the Facebook group Rent to Rent Success Secrets. I just thought they were beautiful, Loise. Do you want to tell us what your strategy is for dressing the rooms?
I'm trying to keep in theme with the colour of the brand, which is sort of all centred around gold and mustard. So that's how I dress my rooms, very much cozy to what our name brand is. So my cozy homes, I imagine that a home, a room has got to be cozy. It's got to be somewhere inviting, somewhere you want to come in and just kick off at the end of the day and just relax. So we go with that theme of being very cozy. Standard furniture in the bedroom, they're all furnished, but we just tend to decorate it, refurbish it with cozy colours, bright colour bedding, and just somewhere that you'd want to come to at the end of a long day.
My heart melts when I just listen to you talking about it, because it says something else really, which is it's not just about the logo and the branding, because what you've done there is you've created the brand values that, you know, that My Cozy Home stands for family, it stands for homeliness, and all of those that comes out through everything you say then about your brand. And that is one of the things that we do go through as part of the step by. You had already put that in place for yourself, but we do go through with you create your name, but you also decide what's your brand values and what's the offer of your business. And sometimes I think people think, oh, why are we doing this? But that's why it really helps, because then when you're talking to people, just when you're thinking about your business, you can get that full, you know, this is what we're, a family business, we're about a homely, we're about coziness. You know, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
So Loise, as I said, it's been great having you as part of it, just because you and your chicken and all your laughs, we've really had a hoot with you in the group. And can you tell us a little bit about what it's been like being in the group?
I love the group. I mean, because we were initially, I was in the first run of the initial first batch of students. You feel like you're sort of like the mum or the big sister in the group, but it's a group where people are joining all the time. And it's a group that's interactive. We're like family. I like to bring family wherever I go, and I like to be involved in somewhere that feels like family. And that is very much for the group. It's lots of families in there, and people actually sort of belong to each other like family, because you get to know each other. You're going through the journey together. Any questions you want to ask, you ask. Feel free. We have online sort of group chats where anything you're unsure about, you can ask, because you've got people that have walked the same journey. They've had the fears, they've had the failures, they've got up, dusted themselves off, and they've kept going. And sometimes you just need a bit of a motivation or a bit of encouragement and support to just keep moving, and you will get there. And that's what you get in the group. So I would say to anyone, if you're unsure, just get involved. Log onto the group, see what we're all about, and be part of the family.
Oh my gosh, you know what, whenever I'm speaking to you, I just feel you would be such an amazing coach, because I feel uplifted listening to you. And one of the things that I love that you said is that people have already been there before with the same fears and the same failures, and they've got up and they've carried on. Because often people could be sitting and looking at this and saying, okay, well, it's okay for Lois because whatever reason they put into their mind. But actually what they don't realize is that, you know, you had fears and failures and missteps along the way. And other people might look at me and say, well, it's okay for Stephanie because, you know, she's been doing this for donkeys. But again, at the very beginning, you know, I was just looking back on failures. I wasn't looking back on successes. And so you've just got to get up there and take, you know, those steps and, you know, feel the fear, as they say, and do it anyway, and take the steps forward. Because as I heard on the podcast this morning, what was it? What's the worst that can happen? You could end up, you know, with a property to rent, and you know, a lovely company and a property to rent, and something that you can do with your family. Like, because tell us about that, because you work with your two daughters, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's always been a dream to have a family business. And okay, mum sort of started it off, but my youngest daughter has just come on board. So we're going to be officially announcing her pretty soon, so watch this space. And then my other daughter, who's our media guru, she's coming on board eventually as well, and it will be a family affair. So even my nieces now want to get involved and say, you know, to grow it, because we are expanding. And it's a family affair. It's totally
Well, I know, Lois, from knowing you and speaking to you today, that My Cozy Homes is going to be a great success, because who doesn't want that, a cozy home? I think it's fantastic for landlords, and also for the tenants who will come and live with you. As we're now wrapping up, is there anything that you would like to leave people with, if they're thinking of doing what you've done?
Do you know what I would say? No matter where you're at, what age you are, because I started later age. I'm not too old, but later age. You know, whatever age you are, whatever stage of life you are, just make that start. And even if making that start means just doing one thing a day to work towards bettering your business or yourself. It can start with, you know, self-improvement. It can start with self-motivation. Whatever it takes to start, make that start, because you never can regret starting, but you'll always regret if you didn't try. So I would say always try. And even if you don't know where to start, get around like-minded people. And that's the thing where I think, you know, would have been great in the beginning if I had someone to share the journey with. And now I'm sort of a few years along. Yes, I know people in the industry, but you've got to start somewhere. We didn't all start where we are currently at. So just make that start, you know, get involved with the group, get around like-minded people, educate yourself, and just take that move to the next stage. You won't regret it.
Fantastic. And do follow, if you're on Facebook, like My Cozy Homes with Lois. And if you're watching this on YouTube, give Lois a like, and ask any questions you've got. The same on Facebook, give a like or even a love, and ask her questions. So Lois, what are your plans for the future?
For the future, I just would like to be the best that we can be in terms of the company. I think what I'd also like to be able to do is to continue with my charity work, to run the food bank, and even maybe sort of combine the two to have like a safe house for those who are vulnerable. And if I'm able to do that, springboarding off the back of my cozy homes, then we can combine the two of my passions, two of the businesses that I run, and really just to be an encourager for somebody else, to be that support system for somebody else, because we all need a bit of support. And yeah, that's just what I want to do. I mean, I'm happy to sit and have coffee if I've got the time. Grab a coffee, come hit me up, we'll grab a coffee and we can talk property. Happy to do it, happy to encourage and motivate. That's my future.
And you're speaking soon, aren't you? Oh, that's a hush hush, don't tell anyone. But I believe a little bird told me that Lois is speaking at an event soon, so you might be able to catch her. So follow my cozy homes to hear more about it. It's not, we can't talk to you about it today. But thank you so much for joining us today. Thanks for watching. Remember to like or comment if you've got any questions. And we will see you again soon for another Rent to Rent Rockstars. And it's bye from me and bye from Lois.
Bye, guys.
Bye. You wait there, Lois.